Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. In studio with me today, it's been a while since we've had our guest on, Councilman Jeff Griffith from the Lubbock City Council. Welcome back.
Good morning, Chad. It's a pleasure to be here. It's funny that I think this is twice that y'all have asked me on Friday the 13th.
Is it really? Wow.
See, that means.
We'll see how the interview goes. That'll be the answer. I'm guessing. You've got y'all have one final city council meeting for the year coming up on Tuesday, correct? Yes. And we'll get into a few of the issues that'll be coming up. But first, just overall, how are things going in the city of Lubbock?
Very well. I think the economy's doing well. We're very blessed to be in Lubbock, Texas. So there's a lot ahead of us, but there's always issues and big projects happening.
Yeah.
But I think things are well.
Let's start with Citizens Tower. That's been in the news quite a bit. People asking, okay, when's everything going to be done with Citizens Tower? When is everybody moving into Citizens Tower? Where are we in the development of Citizens Tower?
Number one, we're going to be several weeks late. The good news is it's better to be on budget than on time.
Right.
I think that's more important with taxpayer dollars. But as far as move-in, floors 2 through 8, there's cleaning crews in there actually right now. So no furniture's been moved in, but we're getting to that point where we're close. I know it may not look like it on some of the outside materials, and there's still some more concrete work to be done on the outside. So, yes, it's a big project, and it's going to still take probably till February to get totally done.
Right.
On the tower component. LP&L will be the last to move in, Chad, at the Customer Service Center, which is a new building across the street.
So are we on budget? Are we coming in under budget, over budget? How does that look?
We're still under budget with the contingency in place. The only thing we added were some public broadcast dollars for Channel 2 that were available to us. And so it looks like that puts us over budget, but it's really not, because those dollars we got granted, if you will.
Okay.
We're allowed by tax, which is really cable fees by FCC.
And so, when the move-in begins, what does that allow the city to do, the city council to do, and different city departments? Because you are moving in excess of 500 people, it's not just a over the weekend move in. No.
It'll take 60 days at best. And of course, we're coming, as you just mentioned, we're coming up on the holiday season. So, that'll cause a little bit of hurt on it. But and there's been a few weather day delay, but I'm very proud of what Lee Lewis Construction's done as our contractor in getting us to this point. That big a project, there's always issues, but when you look at the overall, I think the citizens will be very proud of it when we're done. I think you'll see departments start to move in towards the end of this month, and again, slowly but surely, you can't move them all in over a weekend. It'll happen, like I say, through January.
So you're going to have all the departments, whether they're inside that building or around, kind of in that square. Everybody's going to be in that area, right?
Yes. Now, of course, the Municipal Court is a project that is next door, due west. Used to be known as the Workforce Building.
Right.
That hasn't started yet. The parking garage has not started. We need to kind of occupy the tower, move about 500 in there first, and the Customer Service Center for LP&L, which is a new facility across the way. And then eventually police headquarters a block and a half south.
How many buildings that departments are currently in right now will be, I guess, moved out of, like LP&L?
Right.
They've got a building downtown. I'm assuming that entire building is going to be vacant.
That's correct.
Once people move into Citizens Tower. How many buildings are those buildings going to be sold, and how many of those buildings do we have out there that are going to be on the marketplace at some point?
Municipal Square, where PD is, and the Municipal Court and traffic, all three of those, of course, will end up being at that city center, if you will.
Right.
So that's one, the Municipal Square building. The other one is a leased building that is just off Avenue Q and 10th Street. And that building, Chad, housed IT, Parks and Rec, Community Development. And so we're getting out of that lease, and which is exactly part of our plan is to make sure that city doesn't need to be leasing any more buildings.
Right. Yeah. All right. And so the buildings that you're able to sell, the lease, obviously that money is going to go back into, the city budget into the future. What's going to, are there any plans for that, that money or earmark, ideas for that money that's going to come back in, where you're going to put that money? Or is that just going to be budgeted later on?
The lease building is roughly $200,000 a year.
Right.
The Municipal Square building, the marketability of that we're still studying. But because of its location and with the redevelopment downtown, yes, we believe that that's a very marketable block.
You probably make some money off of that.
Absolutely. The LP&L building on Broadway, that building is being discussed right now by the Overland Group in the downtown redevelopment plan as to how to maneuver that block.
Okay.
We'll still need some of that for a while for a little bit of its parking component before the parking garage gets built at Citizens Tower, because it's pretty close.
Yeah. How big of a parking garage is this going to be over at Citizens Tower?
430 plus, I believe.
And is that going to remain? Is that going to be free parking?
Yes.
After like, let's say 5 o'clock?
Thank you for bringing that up, because it was something very important to us in that's taxpayer money. We need parking downtown, as everybody's talking about with downtown redevelopment, and what's happening down there is great, but parking is at a premium in some areas. So this being so close to Broadway corridor, it's going to be really cool that as it's not being used for City Hall during the day, and PD and Municipal Court, that becomes citizen parking in the evening. And yes, I've pushed hard to make sure that people understand that's free parking, not charged for parking.
Do you think we're going to get to a point in downtown, and I know Amarillo has talked about this, and if you travel any of the larger cities, free parking in downtown areas, that's going away in many cities. Do you see that happening in Lubbock, where you're going to have paid parking in downtown eventually?
It's funny you bring this up. I actually studied what was going on in Amarillo just recently. I was just up there, and I hope that we don't. The market will determine that futuristically as downtown redevelops. I think there's a chance, yes, it could happen. Do you want that to happen? Absolutely not.
But there's a chance.
There is a chance. Absolutely. The market could control that with
what does that mean?
Private investors may build parking garages and say, hey, Chad and Jeff, you guys
but like parking on the side of the street.
Oh, as far as parking on the side of the street, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Street parking, not inside a parking garage.
Right.
I apologize. No, I don't see us. I think that's a long, long way off. I don't see, as far as my tenure on the city council, I'm not for that at all.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take our break. When we come back, we've got homeless issues to talk about impacting Lubbock, and we'll get into that. And also what Councilman Jeff Griffith is looking forward to in 2020 for the Lubbock City Council. We'll be right back. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Councilman Jeff Griffith with the Lubbock City Council in studio. And, Councilman, I think one of the issues coming up before y'all at Tuesday's meeting, a report from the Homelessness Committee, correct?
Yes. That is going to be a work session item, Chad, that we will have on Tuesday afternoon, approximately 1:30. The Homelessness Committee, and that's actually Councilwoman Latrell Joy's committee that has brought stakeholders involved into study homelessness and what's going on in our city. The last numbers that we have, and we may hear something totally different Tuesday, but I'm going to give you data I have today. The last numbers we have is our homelessness number is actually gone down, and it was under 275-ish.
Right.
That in count. And again, I don't know the methodology how you count folks on the street, and so everybody please understand that. But some of them, they need help, no doubt about it. Some want to be helped, and there's some that don't. And I think that if you and I break the law, we go to jail,
right,
or get ticketed. And so I think law enforcement component to this issue is still very important.
Yeah.
But also understand the mental health issue of some of these folks and the addiction issues.
When you look around it and you read the news, you've seen what other cities have done. You've heard about what other cities have done regarding homelessness, and it seems as though, thankfully, we don't have as big of a problem, even percentage-wise, that City of Austin and some of these other places do. And have you seen anybody getting it right when it comes to addressing the homeless issue within their city? Is there a city that you can kind of point to and go, yeah, it seems like they're doing something right there?
I have not.
And I don't know how you even measure people getting it right.
And good point. I mean, San Antonio built a big complex. I don't think there's one answer. Mm-hmm. I think it's multiple answers. I think that our nonprofits do a great job in assisting folks that want help. I think our healthcare providers are a big part of this, but I truly, I've not seen anything that just pops and goes, wow, this is Lubbock's answer. Mm. I am very tickled that our numbers are down. I hope that we'll find out Tuesday afternoon. We'll hear from the committee and see what they say, but you're never going to eliminate it.
Right. Yeah.
I get that, and I could be that next one, that's on the street. So I don't. You hate to see these folks, but you also see the addiction and mental health issues that come with it. The people that want help, I'm all for helping them.
You've been maybe one of the strongest, proponents of downtown revitalization. There's a homeless population that's in downtown.
Yes.
Does that concern you when it comes to downtown revitalization? And you want people to be downtown. You want them to go downtown. You want them to build up that area. Do you get concerned with the homeless population that's located in downtown Lubbock, that's going to hinder growth in that area?
Yes. I appreciate you bringing this up. There's hundreds of millions of dollars literally going into downtown Lubbock's redevelopment.
Sure.
Private, some public. But the point that any downtown that has a strong revitalization, a lot of the homelessness goes away from that area. But when you invest as much as we are in private investment or public into downtown Lubbock, think about Buddy Holly Hall. There's a $150 million building there that folks are going to be using daily. Mm-hmm. And, you hate to see folks around that facility bothering it, that cuts its usefulness, or,
right.
or I should say glamour.
Yeah.
I really hope that we will continue the effort from a law enforcement component, to be very strong in downtown about homelessness.
Let's talk about law enforcement, too. We've got a few minutes left. It probably every single day, it seems like, every single week at least, we're seeing reports of shootings. We're seeing reports of crime. I don't know if crime is technically up in Lubbock. But that's sort of how it's being perceived right now. And it's something that a lot of listeners are concerned about. There's a lot of, property crime that's going on throughout Lubbock. I know we got a new police chief, and you hate to, kind of say, hey, welcome to Lubbock. Now you have to solve this issue within 24 hours. You can't do that. But what needs to be done regarding crime in Lubbock?
The number one thing that we're doing that I feel like is a major advancement is community policing. And part of that is the fact we're not just building 3 substations, but we'll be putting more officers on patrol in those districts, if you will. And, Chad, this will help tremendously for property crime. Yes, we have a property crime problem. And let me say, I've said this before, but crime has no address. It's all over the city.
Yeah.
If you look at our maps, I will be with our new police chief, Chief Floyd Mitchell, later this morning, and get to visit with him. He knew that we had property crime issues when he took the job. He's the guy for the job. He understands community policing. With his history in Kansas City all those years, he understands big city crime. We don't want to get to that point. That's one reason he's here, because I think he's the man for the job. And our Lubbock Police Department and our Lubbock Sheriff's Department, I give them kudos. We're on the right track with gang violence and drugs. Yes, it's a very serious issue, and it causes. Some of these kids are getting younger and younger that have a pistol. Yeah. That's the scary part to your.
Do we need more officers? Not just on the streets, because you said that we're going to have more officers on the streets, but do we need to hire more officers just overall?
The plan is, yes, to continue growing the force. Something I'll brag about that I've advocated for in my 5 years is to continue to grow the force. It is about manpower on the streets. It is about, yes, it's an expensive, very expensive proposition. Our police budget, the city of Lubbock's over $70 million a year. But it is the number one job, in my opinion, of us, your city council, is public safety. And to your point about it appears we have some more violent crime coming up. I haven't seen the new figures. We are changing the patrol. So we have a more staggered patrol. More crime happens after 5 p.m., so you're going to see more officers on the street, unless crime happens at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
So you're not going to see that equal amount of officers.
Okay.
And so we're changing that. It takes several months to put this plan in play. Chief Brewer, our interim chief, who's soon to retire, he's a great man. He helped get this going to where we're going to see a staggered teams out there so that you'll have more officers on the streets during high activity times.
Councilman Jeff Griffith, always a pleasure to visit with you, and let's talk again soon.
Thank you, Chad. Have a great weekend.
You too.